NICKOLAS Biwott.
Nobody knows Daddy the way we know him.
He was a punching bag of the Moi regime.
In the books of Kenya's history, there are names that inspired hope, and there are names that summoned fear. Some spoke softly but shook nations, and among them stood a man, mysterious, silent, and untouchable, NICKOLAS Kipyator Biwott. They call him the total man, a man who owned no microphone but whose whispers echoed like thunder. The elders often say when you see smoke rising somewhere, a fire is burning. With Biwott, the smoke was everywhere, but the fire was never seen.
His voice was listened to very carefully.
He was gifted. He had amazing talent from God. He was intelligent. He was competent.
NICKOLAS Biwott was no ordinary politician. He was the shadow behind the throne, the confidant of President Daniel Arap Moi. While other politicians sought the limelight, Biwott mastered the art of silence. He knew that true power lives not in the shouts of the crowd, but in the stillness of the back room. A roaring lion may frighten, but it is the silent leopard that kills. For Biwott, he was a silent leopard, not a roaring lion. Every deal of the state, every hidden hand of the government, every secret of the regime, at one point or another it was said to pass through his fingers.
NICKOLAS Biwott was arguably the second most powerful and feared politician.
Dear viewer, sit back, grab a bottle of beer or coffee and enjoy this story, because today, in this episode of the Red Mic, we peel back the mask, we go back to history, and we reveal the reasons why Kenyans feared this man NICKOLAS Biwott, also known as the Total Man. Let me know if you have subscribed, and if you have not, you are missing.
What cut an image of a guy to fear?
In the ledger of every nation, there are names written in light and names written in the shade. Some names invite a crowd, but some names make a crowd fall silent. This is a sort of one such a name, NICKOLAS Kipyator Arap Biwott. He was born on 22nd February 1940 in Chebior, Keiyo District of what was then Kenya's colony. A man who will be called by many things: a minister, a businessman, a patron, a shadow, and in the hushed streets, he was the total man. And as the elders say, a river that forgets its source will dry. And so today in this episode of the Red Mic, we go back to his source so we may see why the river gained such a force. NICKOLAS Biwott was a son of the Rift Valley, born to Maria Soti and Joseph Cheserem Soti. He was raised where the highlands meet the sky. He attended Tambach Intermediate School from 1951 to 1954, and then Kapsabet High School. Then he finished secondary school in 1959. He traveled to Australia to study at the University of Melbourne from 1962 to 1964, and he graduated with a degree in economics and political science with a diploma in public administration. He returned to Kenya in December 1964. Why? Because a tree that grows in foreign soil still remembers the seed. I want you to remember that he who tills the soil first learns the taste of the earth. NICKOLAS did not stop into the public realm as a place of glory. but as a civil servant. January 1965, he began serving as a district officer in South Imende and Tharaka Nithi. This was work that saw him organizing land transfers, irrigation, and settlement after the emergency years. That first post was humble, administrative, and practical. And this was NICKOLAS' classroom.
Half of the time was working with Moi. Half of my time I was working for Honorable Biwott.
From 1960s and 1970s, NICKOLAS Biwott had built a presence both inside state corridors and in commerce. He was buying farms, agencies, and an air operator. He founded companies that grew into the post-independence landscape. November 8, 1979. In the general election held that day, NICKOLAS was elected Member of Parliament for Keiyo South, of course on a Kanu ticket. This is a seat that NICKOLAS will hold throughout several terms. He will later move from civil service to ministerial offices, holding senior portfolios through the 1980s and 1990s. He was a Minister of State, Minister of Regional Development, Science and Technology, Minister of East African and Regional Cooperation, among others. And in those years, his proximity to President Daniel Arap Moi became a defining feature of his public life. The man at the elbow of power. Power in its quiet form looked like this. Influence without the need to speak. Decisions by whisper, not declaration. Biwott became the archetype of that quiet power. He was not the man in the marquee. He was the hand that steadied the marquee ball. The drum that beats in the night is often the one no one claims, and so says the proverb. Ministers came and went. Policy was made. Contracts were awarded. Over time, Biwott's name came to signify more than a person. It signified a network of patronage, access, economic reach. For many, this was comfort and patronage, and for others, it was the basis of dread.
The early 90s, there he was accused of murder, of corruption.
Long story short, why did Kenyans fear NICKOLAS Kipyator Biwott? Because fear is born not of what is seen, but of what is unseen. Opponents of the Moi regime found themselves in chains, in exile, or in the silence of the grave. Road accidents unexplained, disappearances unanswered, whispers too dangerous to be spoken aloud. And though courts never proved he is guilty, the streets had already written their own verdict. To the mwananchi in the village, to the city dweller in Nairobi, the name Biwott carried a weight heavier than iron. They remember the death of Robert Oko, the minister whose charred body was found in 1990. Fingers pointed, shadows grew long, and in those shadows the silhouette of Biwott was often seen. Never convicted, never held, yet always suspected. An African proverb says when the moon is full, the hyenas begin to whisper. And in Kenya, whenever tragedy struck in silence, Biwott's name was the whisper in the dark. What made NICKOLAS Biwott more terrifying was his silence. Biwott was not a man of press conferences. He rarely granted interviews. He avoided cameras like a plague. His mystery was his weapon. The fish that keeps its mouth shut never gets caught. While others shouted on podiums, Biwott watched. While others boasted, Biwott planned. His silence was louder than speeches, and his absence was more present than the presence of others. And so fear grew, because where there is no clarity, imagination runs wild.
So he got more exposure on the way the government works.
NICKOLAS Biwott wasn't just a minister. He was the man who called the shots. Lakini shida yake ni Biwott. Evil man.
Fear needs no weapon to be real. Often it needs a name, a rumor, a pattern of silence. For generation in Kenya, that name was NICKOLAS Kipyator Arap Biwott, the total man. Whether history will judge him fairly remains an open book. And for now, we read the pages, we listen to the whispers, and we keep the lessons close. When the moon hides behind the clouds, even the bravest will walk slowly. This is the red mic, and this is the story of why most Kenyans feared NICKOLAS Kipyator Arap Biwott, the total man. Until we meet next time, please consider subscribing. Bye bye.